What's so interesting is that when the banner ad was first invented, and it was all pretty arbitrary, okay, when digital advertising was invented, it was basically a very crude analogy of a direct response print ad. It was a headline, a call to action, and the call to action was click here now.
Yeah.
Now, what they completely missed is that for 150 years, when you produced a direct response print ad, I was taught this going back as early as 1988, okay? You must make the coupon self-standing. In other words, the return address must be inside the coupon. And there must be inside the coupon a reminder about what it's about. Why? Because people rip them out. Yeah. Nobody went along with a coupon with a newspaper. They tore out the coupon and they put it in their pocket and they thought that'll come in handy. And they kept it. What was bizarre is that very important insight, which everybody knew for 150 years in direct response press advertising, got completely lost in digital advertising. And so we were absolutely taught, when you design a coupon for a press ad, for example, or for that matter, a return card for a piece of direct mail, you make it a miniature ad in and of itself, which can be consumed and therefore make sense at a later date. And weirdly, the digital people got so preoccupied with speed of measurement that they completely forgot the fact that any advertisement actually could do good work for days or even weeks after it had actually been first viewed.
Well, this is it. So you talk a lot about like posts. Why is it you think like that the industry has kind of moved away from that? Have you seen brands coming back to it? Because I'm starting to see more posts from...
Partly programmatic mail. So Charlotte from Impact was actually on stage here yesterday. And her point is that handwritten letters, high expense, high touch communications achieve amazing response rates. Now, it's more expensive per eyeball, but actually, what you lose in efficiency, you gain in effectiveness.
Exactly.
And you get extraordinarily high response rates from, admittedly, the smaller number of people you actually reach, which is ultimately what you're trying to do, is persuade as many people as you possibly can. And also, physical direct mail. To be honest, in this business, and this is something you need to be alert to, a lot of things that work very well die for two reasons, one of which is just fashion. Jingles never stop working. Long copy press advertising never stopped working. Cross-track poster advertising never stopped working. All that happened is people got obsessed with winning awards for the next new flashy thing and moved on. And in the process of moving on, they often lost a lot of the knowledge and acquired wisdom that had been accumulated in the previous medium.
Yeah.
And they blundered. It's more like the very first TV ad was basically a talking press ad. It wasn't like a TV ad at all. And in the same way, the first banner didn't have capability. And so, as a consequence, banners gave no sort of capability, and the metrics they devised were all about instantaneous response, which is totally inappropriate. It might be appropriate to a high margin impulse buy. If you're ASOS, actually the immediate click-through rate's quite a good idea.
Yeah.
Probably, okay? Yeah. Because you go, oh, actually, come to think of it, let's go and buy something at ASOS. If you're Unilever or P&G, you're not going to buy a bottle of shampoo then and there, okay?
No.
Moreover, the profit margin on a bottle of shampoo isn't really sufficient to justify a high media spend. What is sufficient to justify a high media spend is a tiny volume of instantaneous response, a large dose of memorability combined with a large dose of capability.
100%.
Now, suddenly you're in economically valuable territory. And direct mail, in large part, works so well because the average bit of direct mail gets kept for 5 or 6 days and it gets read for 90 seconds because you read it at a time of your own choosing, not when someone's imposed it on you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think on the CPG side, it's such an interesting point because the other side as well, they don't really have a direct relationship with the consumer that they can just kind of contact because they're driving people to retail to actually collect the data.
What your Keepable thing does is it actually forges a direct relationship But like any good relationship, it's time and context sensitive.
Exactly.
Because we were saying earlier on stage, that thing that there are people I really, really, really like, okay? But if I'm traveling home at the end of a hard day at work and they board the same compartment of the train as me, I'm actually pissed off.
Yeah.
And the reason is it's good idea, wrong time. And I've been looking forward to 45 minutes of staring into space.
I've been
and
there.
now I've got to talk. We've all been there. You used to live in Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah.
You know exactly the phenomenon where you want 45 minutes of basically turning your brain onto standby and staring out of the window, and now you've got to engage your brain.
Because everybody, when you're doing that route in particular, and you're the same with Western Seven Oaks, everybody's on that train at the same time. But no, I totally get that.
Sometimes you just want anonymity, silence, etc.
Always. This is why I love flying.
Yeah.
But then actually, I took a flight 2 weeks ago. Virgin have now put Starlink on their airlines, right? I don't have an excuse now to be able to say, oh, I'm going to be offline for a few hours, which is when I actually get my work done. So now I'm like, shit. And it's even in economy, so I have no excuses. I have to be connected all the time. And that's a general problem with people. Actually, that's something I noticed at Cannes this year. I don't know if you went to Pinterest.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Yeah, like they were doing offline activations and their whole thing was about being more conscious about being offline.
So Pinterest's slogan, if I'm right, is the best thing you can do online is to find a good reason to go offline.
Yes, exactly.
Which is a really, really interesting philosophical point, which is the online world should be a springboard to a better offline world, not an end in itself.
Exactly that.
Not a sort of, it shouldn't become a digital cul-de-sac in our lives. It should be the springboard to something worthwhile offline, which is exactly what you're doing. Take this into a shop and do something good with it.
Well, this is it. I think it's a super interesting time right now. Because, obviously we've just been on the disruption stage. So what I find sometimes is that you can be the most disruptive by standing still. When everything else around you is moving at lightning speed, especially now with like AI.
Do you know the most interesting thing, if you think about it? Apple's decision not to do their own AI, but to rent from Google, is absolutely the most rebellious decision anybody could take. Because it's going, no, we're going to sit this out.
Yeah.
We're not going to bark at every passing car. We're not going to chase every shiny object. We're just going to wait and see.
I think that's important. And to your point earlier about what we're doing being fashionable, I think you look at when you do stand still, you see things that don't change. And one of the things that I don't believe changes is the buying brain when it comes to the propensity to revisit things later or save it for later, because that goes back to the coupon, then into digital. Like I know how much trouble I'm going to be in if I see an ad and then I buy a car.
Yeah.
Like my missus is going to kill me. Same with a holiday. Same with probably most things, if I'm honest.
Well, this is another thing. Social commerce. I think that social commerce. By the way, making those coupons shareable, so I can share them with my wife. There's a very clever actual implementation of that, which is when I get a free coffee at Cafe Nero, I can send the card to my daughters, which I do all the time.
Do they do a share card?
The free coffee to them matters a bit more than the free coffee to me.
Yeah.
And so the actual card, you can send it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Now, actually, both generosity in marketing and shareability and sociability, the natural tendency is to look at marketing as a one-on-one thing between brand and consumer. And the fascinating thing is, no, you're not generally marketing to an individual. As you said, if you went out and bought a car without asking your wife, okay, you'd have hell to pay.
This is it. So the saved ad you can share from the wallet, but we haven't really kind of dug into that because I think there's a whole element of, people like being nice, and it's when if I see like a hat or something, I think, oh, Rory would love that. I'm going to save that and send it to you.
Have you spoken to a company called Present, which is gift-giving app? Okay, they're based in Brighton. When you're next to Round and Free, I'll put you in touch with them. Get in touch with me, because they would probably have the technology which would say, have one of these for yourself and give one to a friend. which would be a further amplification of the whole thing, because then the consumer's doing the targeting for you. Who do I know who likes hats?
That's exactly.
I then scan the 300, 500 people I know. Actually, I wouldn't have said it to Elf because he only wears one kind of hat. But you'd actually be thinking, okay, who would value this the most? What could be a more brilliant thing than that?
So we built that into Snatch. So we had like different type of prizes, and one of them was, actually, I don't even think we let the person who got it have it.
Oh, really?
They had to give it away.
That's a brilliant idea, yeah.
Because then you are, like you said, you're letting them do the targeting for you, and nobody knows their audience better than themselves.
I'll tell you a story about this. I've been a member of the BA loyalty program since about 1992, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm about 20,000 thingies away from lifetime goal. I've got about 1 million Avios points. The most value I had from that program in 30 years was my daughter was on a university ski trip with about 3 friends. It was a coach from Newcastle down to the Alps at a time when there were ferry strikes at Dover. Okay, the journey down was total misery. So she said to me, look, I don't really think I can face going back on that coach. I said, look, okay, can you spend an extra night in Geneva? Okay, I'll see what I can do. Now, I got her and 3 of her friends business class single flights on BA from Geneva, better still, I think it was either the city or Gatwick.
Yeah.
Okay. To be honest, it wasn't that many points. Okay. Now, for about 2 months afterwards, I was like hero dad, because they were thinking about all their friends stuck on a coach somewhere, basically probably waiting at Calais to get across. And they were sitting there sipping champagne in seat fucking 1A, okay? And the ability to be generous to the people around you is actually a major instinctive human driver, and yet marketers are so obsessed with economic models of self-interest that they completely fail to understand that. And actually, give this to a friend is a brilliant call to action.
I mean, it comes back to what you did, well, Ogilvy did with Coca-Cola, right? Did you have people?
Share a Coke with.
There you go.
You bought a Coke because you saw someone else's name on the can.
Hey, genius.
Absolutely perfect. It made Coca-Cola billions. Ogilvy Australia, who came up with the idea, Philip Heinemann did the research. They made 350,000 Australian dollars from it. There you go. Life's not fair.
There you go.
Yeah.